All right, let's keep this going. We have another game here from Dick. Let's flip this around. You've got the black pieces. So why h6? Usually as black, we don't have the luxury of playing like this. Not on an e45 opening, right? We have to develop as fast as possible. I'm guessing you play this because you're afraid of knight g5, but you can't just fear something and then play some passive move that doesn't help your development to deal with it. Again, it comes back to always calculating. The move you want to play is knight f6, right? So calculate it. Can we get away with knight f6? Okay, knight g5 scares us. Let's calculate it. Let's ask, right? Knight f6, if they play knight g5, what do we play there? We just castle, right? I'll just show it. We're not afraid of this at all. White's just wasting time playing this. They can't go for this idea now, not with our bishop already developed. We just castle, and I mean, if White wants to give us 2 pieces for the rook, that's awesome for us, right? I mean, by point count, it's equal, right? 6 points for 6 points, but not this early in a game. The rook is much less valuable than the 2 minor pieces this early in the game. So we don't have to fear this at all. It's not worth playing a move like h6. Never just play a move like that out of fear without actually calculating if the threat actually works. But okay, going back to the game, you do play h6, d3, knight f6. Maybe it's not a huge deal in this line because all White can do is play d3. If I was White, I'd really look to blow the center open as fast as possible after seeing h6. But I guess they've already committed this knight to c3. White's playing kind of weird, by the way. Usually you don't play knight f3, knight c3, and bishop c4. If you're going to play the 4-knight system, the bishop's better on b5. And if you're going to play bishop c4, it's kind of nice to have this pawn on c3 in some cases, so you can play d4. Here, I feel like White doesn't have the best, setup here, but okay, we get to this position, and Black's probably fine. I guess you kind of get away with playing h6, even though it wasn't, strictly necessary. But okay, d6, okay. All looks reasonable. Oh, is this really all still book? Up through d6? Yeah, I'm not sure if this is all book. This has hardly ever been reached. Kind of curious about this position. Yeah, everyone just plays knight f6. Only one person's ever tried h6. So I disagree that this is all still book. I'm not sure what book you're referring to. But okay, I mean, it's certainly all kind of reasonable. I'm just curious, like, when you say that, what you mean by that it's all still book. You've seen this exact position before, or what does that mean? But okay, this all looks reasonable for sure. Okay. So, yeah, both players have double pawns. I don't think either set of double pawns is of particular concern. I don't see any clear targets to go after here, so I think both players are fine. I think White's going to operate with this semi-open F file, then you have the semi-open B file. That's always one kind of upside of double pawns. They kind of, give you a semi-open file. So White plays B4. I'm really tempted just to play, like, A5 after seeing that. So you played rook E8. Oh, I see. You want to play D5 and play in the center. A5 is another option just to consider. Not saying it's best by any means, but I'm always tempted to always lash out at extended knight pawns with rook pawns. If they push, they get rid of our doubled pawns. If they take, then A3 could be a target. If we take, possibly B4 could be a target in some cases. Just something to consider. Rook E8 makes sense. Okay. Okay. I'm tempted again to play A5, because what do? Either they take, and A4 is a big isolated pawn on a semi-open file, or they push and get rid of our doubled pawns. But D5 makes sense too. So let's see. Takes. Can they get away with that? So they just give us a knight? I mean, they have to try G4, right? Why are they not at least trying G4 and trying to save this piece? If they're not going to play G4, the game's just over, I think. But I'll see if anything changes. Hopefully the rest is a matter of technique. Alright, yeah, nice win. I'm not sure what your question is exactly about this one. I feel like you played the opening reasonably. I think I maybe had a little bit of, helpful nitpicking there in the opening. But other than that, I mean, White just blundered. So okay, yeah, nice win. Keep beating people like this and getting that rating up. Alright, next up, we are going to take a look at a game here from Daniel. So let's see. We got the white pieces, and I think you said something like around move 17 is where you think things started kind of turning south. So we'll take a look. Another Ruy Lopez, main line. Okay, and Black goes for the martial attack. Trying to see. Okay, you were not aware of this in game. Okay. So you didn't know about the martial attack before the game? That's okay. I mean, there's a first thing for everything, right? Like I said, it's a matter of really trying to learn one new move every game, like they talk about in Module 4. So very good job looking this up after the game, and certainly next time you see the martial attack, you'll be a lot more prepared for it. So yeah, black is sacrificing this pawn. I mean, e5 is going to fall after the exchange, but black has some attacking ideas. So you exchange pawns and grab your free pawn on e5, takes, and c6. And you play d3, and I think this is a sideline against the marshal. I don't know too much about it. I'm more familiar with playing d4, and there's also a sideline with bishop takes d5. Again, I'm sure you kind of did your research after the game to do some analysis here to be more ready next time. I'm trying to read your comment here, though. You were thinking you might want a hook to support your rook in rank 4 to counter the black's queen's expanded adventurism in the h-file. Yeah, so d3 is played. I'm kind of curious what the idea is of d3, because I know people do play this move. And then what happens on, like, bishop d6, rook e1, queen h4, g3, queen h3. Or sorry, queen h3, not queen h5 in this line, of course. Queen h3. This looks kind of similar to the main line. I'm trying to think what the advantage is of having the pawn on d3 versus this position with the pawn on d4. So people play rook e4 here. Interesting. Yeah, I'm honestly not sure. I'm not an expert on this d3 line, but if you want to play it, that is something to consider. Most people prefer the main line with d4, though. But we can see how this goes. I'm kind of curious. So d3, bishop d6, rook e1, bishop f5, knight d2. So that just hangs the d3 pawn, I believe. Let's see. So that's definitely one reason the pawn shouldn't be on d3. It makes it hard to play knight d2 early on. So let's see how this goes. So takes, knight f3, they come back, and now, okay, we have equal material. At the same time, black's attack doesn't seem too scary in this particular case, and this knight is kind of hanging here on d5. I say kind of because we can't cleanly take it, because there's discovered attacks on the queen, of course. But I think we've neutralized the worst of black's attacking chances, of course at the cost of returning the pawn they gave us. So, okay, knight e5, takes. Okay, I'm just nervous about, like, h2 falling, though, but let's see how this goes. Yeah, we're just gonna... Oh, I see, it comes with check, of course, okay. Well, in light of that, I feel like we're probably better then. Once again, we get an opposite bishop middle game here. We've seen lots of that in this video. But here, this feels like a very favorable version for you, very similar to, I believe it was Mark's game from the first section of this video, with black just totally unable to contest the light squares and them having double pawns around the king. I'm wondering if we can just play like bishop c2, queen h5, and win. So let's see. Yeah, they have to bring the rook to g7, I believe. Yeah, but this pawn does fall, even though we have to give h2 in return. So you say you would take the pawn too, thanks, like it's just a blunder, but I mean, there is kind of a debate, you know, is this pawn worth more than the h2 pawn? I don't think it's entirely clear. But let's see how it goes. Takes. Queen f4, so okay, they get queens off the board, but, well, I was thinking we were going to access their second rank somehow. I'm not too sure what the idea of bishop f5 is. If we're going to move the bishop, I thought e4 would be the square, trying to pressure this pawn, but I feel like it's more important to either play... Well, maybe rook e7, maybe just rook 8 or d1, trying to, you know, start activating our rooks. I'm not too sure about bishop f5, but let's see how it goes. Okay, yeah, see, we could have got the d-file uncontested, because they had this, you know, rook on g7 that's bad. Now we kind of let them coordinate again. But okay, maybe this pawn's just falling now. Oh no, they can push it, okay. Yeah, I feel like our advantage slips away a little bit if we let them coordinate rooks again. They had this awkward rook on g7, and that was really our last remaining advantage after the queens come off the board. Okay, g4, interesting. I guess just stopping f5 and h5 for the time being. Kind of double-edged, but I don't see an immediate tactical exploitation of it by black. Are we allowing just like h5 or something? So they play rook d6. Yeah, that leads to some simplifications, I guess. Well, this endgame should just be a draw, right? There's no way anyone wins this with opposite bishops, right? I thought we might have been better, though, at one point there, and I'm also nervous about walking the king into this pin. So what happens if black just plays like h5? Oh, I guess we pin them right back, possibly, so maybe they can't do that. I mean, honestly, at this point, it's probably just a draw. We have opposite bishops, no queens on the board. I don't think either king is in serious danger, and okay, we just trade everything off, and this game should be an easy draw. There's no way anyone can win with opposite bishops, because each side just dominates their color complex, and yeah, you can never play b4, for example. So yeah, good game. I think, the opening could be improved, of course. Definitely do some research there on the martial attack. The Module 4 content could help you out there, trying to talk about, how to transition from just playing based on principles to starting to build up this opening repertoire. I could definitely play this against you too in our correspondence game if you ever want to try this out, play it for either white or black. We could talk through it move by move. If you want to play this in our correspondence game, just let me know. But then I thought you had somewhat of an advantage and you kind of let it slip away a little bit. I'm trying to find the moment where it might have slipped away. Because this was a great find. This takes to double the pawns and then knight g4, threatening knight h6, knight f6, and if they take, you take with check, and I think you're pretty happy in this position. I'm wondering, this all looks good. Even this could be good. Even this could still be good, but I feel like bishop f5 is kind of an aimless move, and you'll give it with no comment. I just wonder here if we play like rook a to d1, thinking about, either doubling on their second rank and just stopping them from contesting these files for the time being. Like now if they try to coordinate their rooks again, we're in time to come to their second rank with tempo. And I just feel like we might have some ways to preserve our advantage a little bit more in a situation like that. Because of course after all the rooks come off the board, it's just a dead draw. But yeah, good game. All right, next up, we have a couple games here from Aaran L. So let's take a look. I think you have the white pieces here in the first one. Okay. So you can play this two-knight system against the Caro-Kann. In principle, though, if black's going to let you play d4 on move 2, why aren't you playing it? Right, like in principle, don't you want to take the full center, open up both bishops, and just kind of, do that? d4 seems like the most principled move in the world here to me. But okay, you play this way. I don't like that. Why are we blocking in our central pawn? That's kind of another principle we're violating. Almost never do you block in a central pawn with a piece. You play knight g3 here. That move makes more sense to me. d3 I don't like either, because they can take and trade queens. So I think knight g3 here is the move. But again, I wouldn't even play this system. If black ever lets me put the pawn on d4 for free, I'm just going to play it. But okay, no tactical mistakes yet. We're still doing okay in that department. Okay. Yeah, see, now it's kind of awkward, because like our bishop can't develop, so now we have to fianchetto it. Interesting, knight c5. I'm trying to understand your comment here. You played this move thinking you were going to fork the knight. What does that mean? A fork is when you attack two pieces at once. You can't fork a knight. You can't fork an individual piece. A fork is attacking two pieces at once. He would move the knight to safety, and then you can trade bishops and stop him from castling. Okay, that's great that you see that, but did you calculate all of black's other possible check captures or threats? Because I'm nervous this bishop's not defended. You really have to calculate a lot of your options here. So, okay, they take on e4. Well, hold on. They just took a piece and you didn't take back. Well, I guess you're just losing material here no matter what, right? So what happens if we take the knight, and then I guess they take our knight with tempo, and we stay down a piece, right? So again, you can't play a move just hoping your opponent does one in particular thing and that it gives you a good result. Again, I really harp on this in Module 2. You have to always know every single check, capture, or threat your opponent could play in response to every single move that you ever consider, and make sure that you have answers in response. Good job, by the way, with the annotations. This really helps me understand what's going wrong and how to fix it. So let's see. Okay, so they take a piece. You don't take back. You just stay down a piece. Plus, they can win more material, I think. Okay. Do they have to be fancy and go for that? I thought they could even save the bishop and be better, but okay, they just take on g2. Okay, I don't like at all that you're talking about pawn islands and poor defensive positions here. This is strictly tactical. I don't care about pawn islands. I don't care about weak pawns. You're down a piece. Right, that's all that matters. If you're down a piece, I don't care about pawn islands or king safety. Unless you're checkmating black, you're down a piece and the game's over. And I have to emphasize again, I love the annotations. The annotations are great. I love that you're telling me exactly what you're thinking so I can help you out here. But it's not good that you're thinking about pawn islands in a situation like this. This is strictly tactics and you're down a piece. So let's see how this goes. Okay, if you take, then, okay, there's a simple little fork. Wait, what is black doing? I thought they were going to take one of your 2 hanging pieces, but I guess they're not interested. Well, that's weird. Okay, I guess now you're not down a piece. Black just gave you your piece back. Okay, the game's back on. And see, that happens at this rating level. That's fine. I mean, people are going to blunder. One person's going to lose a piece. The other's going to lose a piece. The way you get past this rating level is you don't blunder your pieces, and when your opponent blunders their pieces, you capitalize on it. And that's like 90% of how you win at this rating level. It doesn't matter about like pawn islands and stuff like that. If material's equal or close to equal, sure, that stuff matters. But I mean, in the span of 13 moves, we've had one player lose a piece and the other player give it right back. So that should show you how important tactics are for surpassing this rating level. So okay, let's take a look. You defend the knight, takes. Okay, we get to this endgame, and it's interesting. Probably black is still much better. I mean, they have an extra pawn. Their knight is great here on d5. You can actually never remove it from d5, which is kind of annoying. So let's see. Rook g1. They just cut our rook out. Okay. Yeah, so you think you're stuck at this point. I can kind of understand that. It's very hard to kind of make progress here. This is a very typical good knight versus bad bishop endgame. Our pawns are on the same color as their bishop. Their knight is in this dominant outpost we can never chase it away from. So black is certainly better here. Now the thing is, we don't have to do anything. Like you said, you're stuck. Remember, we don't have to do anything here. We're happy with the draw if nothing happens. It's kind of on black to make something happen and try to win the game, and we just have to kind of stop them as they try to do that. So let's see. Check. Okay. Yeah, did they just give you a pawn for free? That's really weird. Okay, I guess we can do that. I don't like giving control of the file, though, because now they're going to put the rook down on g2, right? So why give up control of the open file? Wouldn't it be better to just double on the open file and bring this rook to g1? They can't play knight h3 and fork us, because we just take the rook, of course, right? So, very important there. Okay, you said exchange completed, but, I mean, black ends up with control of the open file at the end of the exchange, right? So, very important there, especially because there's only one open file on the board, and there's still rooks on the board. The fight for that file is important. By exchanging, you just gave up control of the file. See how that works? Okay, so they come in, they're going to win some material back. I guess we get the F file, though. That is kind of pleasant for us. Okay, maybe you had calculated that beforehand and considered maybe the F file was worth just as much as the G file. That could be true, possibly. Kind of curious to see how this plays out. Okay, so we defend our H pawn. They go back and defend their F pawn. So I guess no one won anything. We both defended each other's threats. Okay, activating the bishop makes sense. Good. I like that you're going after their isolated pawn. Okay, grabbing the open file. Like it. Yeah, you're playing well in this part of the game. Yeah, kind of a shaky start there, but you're kind of trying to turn this around. Still down a pawn, but, you're trying to make do with it. And you're now trying to attack his king. Yeah, that could make sense. I mean, you have the open G file here. You could, try to swing around. There's no clear pawn to really target, I guess. Black can defend all the pawns, so I guess we can try to attack the king. I don't really see it leading anywhere concrete, but maybe putting them under pressure will pay off, so let's see. Okay, so we're giving them the H pawn. Can we do that, or do we actually have some serious threats against their king? Maybe we do. Interesting. Okay, cutting off c7. So your threat is to play, I guess, bishop c7 and checkmate, huh? Yeah, how does black get out of that? Yeah, surprisingly, you're actually managing to put them under a lot of pressure here with only 2 pieces. And checkmate. Okay. Wow, nice. Yeah, good way to turn that around. Yeah, the opening there was very, very shaky. Doing stuff like blocking in the piece, and then especially just playing, we call this hope chess, right? You're playing this just hoping for some particular line, just a total miscalculation that you have a hanging piece. But you've turned it around, and you can do that at this rating level. If your opponent, doesn't convert the game right, and they give you a chance to come back, then you got to take it, and you did. Very good job fighting back. I hope that helps for how to think about that opening. Not like the specifics of that particular opening, but like in general, just not blundering a piece like that, and why a move like bishop a3 was wrong based on this hope chess idea. You weren't calculating every possible check, capture, or threat, which is the big thing I harp on. But great job fighting back. Love to see that. And then you had another game here as well, I believe. All right, and it's a member versus member 2. Love to see that. Okay, this all looks reasonable. Okay, that's fine. Okay, so you have to be a little careful here of some tricks with, like, bishop takes f7 and then knight e5 and knight g5. Do any of them work right now? Maybe they don't, just be careful. I don't know why you're delaying knight f6 so long, because that's a very standard move in this opening. What I was talking about is tricks like this, with like takes, and now knight takes e5, hitting the bishop. It doesn't work here, though, because black has to give up 2 pieces, and plus we can take with the knight and defend it. Just be kind of careful of that theme. But okay, I think it's reasonable. Okay, they play h3, you come back. Okay, knight d2, knight d4, c3, okay. I think this is all reasonable. Now, why are we putting the knight on e7? The knight pretty much never goes to e7 in this opening. Pretty much in any e4, e5 opening, the knight almost always goes to f6. There are some exceptions, but be very careful with that. The thing is, with the knight not on f6, there's a lot more opportunities for white to play, like queen g4 and queen h5 ideas, 2 squares that the knight covers. So I'm not saying it's super horrible here, it's just kind of unorthodox, and I wouldn't, recommend it. But no tactical mistakes so far. That's the most important thing. That's what I want you to focus on. Good job playing safe so far. And following the opening principles, by the way. Controlling space, developing, all good. Okay, you decided to strengthen the queen side by attacking the bishop and blocking out the queen side. Oh, are you white in this game? No, you're black, aren't you? I guess I'll go with this as you being white, because you're talking about attacking the bishop, so I guess you must be white here, so sorry for that. Okay. Bishop e6, a4, a5. Okay, instead of taking the pawn, I knew I had better development and retreated. Thinking if he takes the pawn, what pawn? I'm not sure there's any pawn here that can be taken. I'm trying to understand what you're talking about. So let's see how this goes. I'm still trying to understand what color you are. Because your username here says you're black. But, okay, let's see. So d5, they strike at your bishop. Takes. Okay, everything's tactically safe so far. Castle. Yeah, you must be white here, because you're talking about commanding the 7th rank. Okay, so let's just see how this goes. Yeah, certainly seems like black probably shouldn't allow this. Again, a knight on f6 would control this square. Kind of a coincidence, but good to note. So rook d7, good move. Oh, they just give you a knight. Certainly black could put up more of a fight than that, I think. They could play at least bishop d8 to save everything. But, I mean, if nothing else, you probably just win the e5 pawn. Or, in light of that, what if they take on f3 first? Although, no, then, well, pause the video, actually, to test yourself. But I think here you could just take one of the pieces, and they would still have 2 pieces hanging. Just something like this. And they still have 2 pieces under attack. And I don't think they have a satisfactory way to save them both. So yeah, I guess castling is probably just a blunder. What else could black play here, though? I feel like black's opening is kind of awkward here with the knight on e7 instead of f6. I think it does make a big difference. But okay, this is a tactical mistake, so you capitalize on it. I think e5 is free. Or I guess you probably want to defend e4. Well, okay, but can't they take on e4 now? No comment, okay. I think you're just missing e4's under attack. And they miss it too. Double. Okay. Why are you taking g7? Oh, I see, because you threaten checkmate if they take the knight. That makes sense. I thought you'd probably just take on c7, but okay, this looks pretty strong. Okay, good. Okay. Good. Good. Yeah, this is just winning for you, right? Unless there's any trick here. Hold on, wait a minute. Don't they have... What happens here on check? And then check. Do they have like a perpetual check? Oh no, it's actually not a perpetual, because you can actually throw away your knight. You can throw away your knight and get out of it. Just be careful, because that could have been a little trick you fell into. But certainly you're dominating their 7th rank, and that should win the game, I believe. Okay, cutting off the bishop makes sense. And this should be a win, right? I think you just missed a checkmate, but okay. This way should win too. Kind of hard to go wrong, and you convert it. Yeah, nice win. At least I think you won. I just want to make sure one more time, because again, your name is showing up as black. I'm trying to read some of these later comments. Only after the game did I realize I ignored my whole plans to deliver the checkmate with his rook, now blocking the king, and changed my plan for some reason, which the game went on longer. Yeah, not a big deal. Like I said, like any way wins there. So yeah, nice job. I know you've really been working hard on chess, based on some of the emails we've exchanged. Definitely continue to send me these games and let me know if I can do anything to help. Keep up the hard work. Next up, we'll take a look at a couple games here from Gerrome. And I know you said you were very proud of one of these games, that it was your highest rated win ever, I believe. I'm kind of curious which one it was. I can't tell just based on these. Maybe this one, 1377? Yeah, let's take a look. So you have the black pieces here. Yeah, white's playing e3, which is strange. I don't think that's the Van Gied, is it? It's the Van Kraj opening. I actually have a video on that on YouTube. You can search it. I think I'm probably one of the top results. The bottom line is, like, white's just kind of transposed to some other opening system, so no one really calls it the Van Kraj. Like, white can play c4 and get an English, white can play d4 and get a Kali system. There's just no real reason to play e3 on move 1, but, I mean, you can. It's not a blunder. Okay. Oh, yeah, this is kind of a Van Gied when you play knight c3. Okay, this just makes no sense. What's white doing? Good. Oh, but now you blunder the pawn, right? Yeah, I think white's opening is just based on tricks, and as long as you don't fall for the trick, then white looks kind of dumb for what they're doing, but unfortunately you fell for that and blundered the e5 pawn. Yeah, so instead, what do we play here? We can't play bishop d6 either, huh? Because d5 is potentially loose. Actually, is there just no convenient way to defend the e5 pawn? That's kind of funny if so. Maybe there's, you know, a little bit of legitimacy to white's system here. It's actually kind of annoyingly hard to defend d5, unless you want to play like queen d6 or something. But even still, I mean, even if we have to just develop, certainly we get tons of compensation if white wants to take this pawn, right? I would almost be tempted just to give them this pawn and just outdevelop them, because their queen is going to be... Well, first of all, we're going to get a tempo on it after we castle, probably. So they're probably going to have to take here sooner or later. And, I don't know, we have compensation, right? I mean, white's development's pretty bad. It's kind of funny, though, that it's almost hard to defend that pawn, though. But okay, let's just see what happens. So they take it. Okay, good. Makes sense. Yeah, even here I feel like we have some decent compensation for the pawn. I wouldn't be too upset here even down a pawn. I mean, we have some ideas of even like knight e4 at the right moment, possibly knight b4 at the right moment, hitting c2. It just depends on what white does here. Also, like bishop d6, trying to really either king with our two bishops. If they castle, they have this bishop on c1 that can't move. So let's see. You saw that you could have trapped the queen with move knight h5. Oh, really? Oh, is that a queen trap? Just straight up? Yeah, I guess it is, isn't it? Our bishops are so strong. Yeah, knight h5 just wins the game. But that's okay, you missed it. And I guess white saw it because they prevented it. h4, h6, you want to take g5 away. Oh, I see, you want to play bishop d6 and deprive the queen of all the squares. That makes sense. I like the idea, trying to play against this awkward queen. Okay, h5, bishop b6, queen h4, knight b4. Yeah, that was one of the ideas I was talking about, just kind of pointing out that c2 has no natural defender right now. Makes sense. Plus the bishop's still under attack. Okay, well now we definitely have compensation for a pawn if they have to play king d1. Yeah, black's just much better here. This goofy opening, even though it won a pawn, it still doesn't pay off. That just goes to show you that violating these principles willy-nilly, like white's trying to do here, usually doesn't pay off. Even if it looks like in the short term you might win some pawn somewhere. So c6. I'm kind of tempted by like bishop f5 ideas too, but I kind of like c6 because now I'm even thinking about like expanding with b5 and stuff if they play bishop a4. Okay, they go all the way back. Knight g4. This looks pretty strong. Even if the queens come off, we have great compensation, I think. Actually, can they trade queens and just play rook f1, or does that not work? What happens on rook f1 here? Here, maybe it's not so simple anymore. So maybe I don't like this, because I feel like we're letting white off the hook here a little bit by trading queens like that. I think it's stronger to keep queens on the board and try to play against the king as well, like to just play c5 and grab more space and stuff. Yeah, because here just rook f1, but okay, they don't play rook f1 and they blunder. All right, yeah, nice win. All right, and let's take a look at the other game. Okay, you've got the black pieces. Let's take a look. All right. Caro Khan. I think I'm fine with all this. I think. Just have to be a little careful of like bishop b5, but it's not going to be a big deal here. We can defend everything. So yeah, we're playing a typical kind of exchange Carol-Connor. We have the Carlsbad pawn structure, right? D pawn's facing off, semi-open c file against semi-open e file. And in light of that, I don't understand knight d7, because I think this knight's just good on c6. It adds pressure to the d4 pawn. It helps with our typical plan of the whole minority attack idea with b5, b4. So I'm trying to read your comment here. Yeah, I just feel like the knight's more natural on c6. I don't see any need to put the knight on d7. Okay, bishop e5, castle. Oh, well, okay, if they're going to do that, I guess that's fine. Yeah, I mean, they double our pawns, but I'd be pretty happy with this. We have 2 bishops against 2 knights, and I'm not too afraid of our doubled pawns, because this bishop can drop back to g6 and kind of function as a pawn, with extra functionality, of course, too. Yeah, I think black's just fine here. I'd probably prefer black. So, 92, okay, makes sense. I don't know that we're really gonna, well, I guess we could use the g-file. We could double on the g-file. I was still thinking in terms of, like, playing against the c-pawn in some cases, too. But I guess the g-file makes some sense as well. Okay. Yeah, definitely don't allow whites to triple the pawns, of course. Okay, going for the minority attack idea. Good, so you mentioned this, possibly also considering the minority attack. Yeah, one thing is, if white were to ever take on g6, I would kind of like to have the option to take with the h-pawn too. Here we can't, of course, because of queen h6 checkmate. But very often I'll just keep the king on g8 in this kind of pawn structure, and if white ever takes the bishop, I just take with this pawn, and I have this kind of nice structure here as well. I can even step up with the king and put a rook on h8 in some cases. I don't think the g-file leads anywhere. I kind of would prefer to stick with the minority attack idea, but that's just me. I think there is some logic to this plan as well. So let's see. Okay, that's fine. Yeah, they definitely want to play f5. I would consider here playing f5 myself. So let me read your comment here. You didn't want to allow white to fork your rook and pawn to get away with this break. Yeah, but we can just play f5. I mean, if white's idea is to play f5, we can just do it ourselves and stop them. Plus, then we're putting all our pawns in the opposite color of our bishop, which I kind of like. The bishop watches over all the dark squares, the pawns watch over the white squares. Well, let's see how this goes. Rook g4. Okay, we let them play f5. Oh, I see. You want to meet it with e5. Yeah, I guess there is some logic to that. Especially because they can't win the d5 pawn. Yeah, don't mind that then. Okay. Is it better to take with the pawn, though? To play like bishop c5 check and then take with the pawn? Just something to consider. Let's see. Okay. So now all our play is kind of based around this this g-file. Now we are losing the d5 pawn, but I feel like we still have a decent position here. The bishop's actually pretty strong here. It's kind of on this outpost. We have lots of g-file pressure. Even b4 can still be played, trying to either b2 pawn. So what's this? You've sacked the exchange. Rook takes g3. Let me see your comment here. You thought you could sacrifice, be able to clear the open space to get at the king. The knight was an annoyance. So let's see. Okay, you said the engine was suggesting like h5, h4. That's definitely an idea, trying to clear open the g-file. But let's just see the idea of how you hope this would work. I see. Interesting. I mean, yeah, you probably have some compensation for an exchange. I'm just skeptical that this will lead anywhere. I feel like we don't have enough pieces on the board to really finish this attack, and all of white's pieces stand pretty well. So, okay, and now white even takes on f7 too, and you said you were surprised by this and thought it wouldn't work. I think they can get away with that. I don't see any, follow-up from black. I think their king's actually fairly safe. And now we have to watch out for our own king in some cases too. That's the annoying thing. So let's see. We play bishop h2. Oh, I see. You're trying to threaten like some stuff here on g1. Oh, and they just let you do it? They don't have to do that, do they? I thought they have some better response here. I mean, they have rook d4. They even have rook e3 because we can't take because of f6, right? And then after we block with the rook, we get a back rank mated, of course. So good idea. I like the creativity, and I guess white wasn't up to the task of defending this. And they ran into a checkmate. Oh, did they just resign here? Yeah, I mean, it seems like a pretty clean checkmate if we're just going to be able to take and take g2. All right, nice win. I know you've been rising in the ratings recently. Keep it up. Keep beating these players. Keep up all the hard work, and let me know if you have any more questions. Definitely looking forward to seeing some more games. All right, next up we have a game here from Charles. So let's take a look. Oh, this was your game against me. Okay. Oh yeah, I noticed you had some interesting comments here in the opening. So okay, you have the white pieces. Let's do this from your perspective. D45, you said you played... Okay, so you played C4 and said this wasn't a good choice. C3 or E3 would have strengthened center contention. No. C4 is the most popular move here. This is just the Queen's Gambit. Again, if you want more background here, let's see. I'll put a comment after this move. Queen's Gambit, chess pathway. Search that on YouTube. You probably have to be a bit more specific now because there's probably a bunch of videos about the Netflix show Queen's Gambit floating around YouTube. But Queen's Gambit opening chess pathway should get you my video on the Queen's Gambit. No, C4 is very, very common here. I'm not sure why you don't like it. C3 or E3, that's fine too. You can play that as well. But no, C4 is a great move. So let's see. Knight f3, this is all normal. Now, what does this mean? Your earlier heir leads to another. D5 is now isolated and lost. No, it's not. It's not isolated. You have a buddy here on E2. You can always play E3 later and defend your D4 pawn. So you have no isolated pawn here. And it's especially not lost. How is it lost? You said D5 is now isolated and lost. I'm not sure what you mean. All you did is exchange a set of pawns. It's very, very normal. This is just the exchange variation of the Slav defense. Again, if you want more background on this whole system, this is the Slav defense against the Queen's Gambit. And again, I've talked about this before, but you don't have to spend a bunch of time at this phase of your chess career developing a whole opening repertoire, but you should focus on learning one new thing every game. So if you want to type in, I'll put a comment after move here. Let's see, comment after Slav defense, chess pathway. Search that on YouTube. It'll give you some more background of how this opening works. I think that'll help you out a bit. But no, this is fine. No tactical mistakes so far. Yeah, totally symmetrical, boring exchange Slav, right? That's what it's called. Bishop f4 makes sense. I think you're really overthinking some things here. I don't know what you mean about f5 and g4 being weak. I mean, you have your bishop on f4, but you don't say that I left this diagonal weak, right? It's great that you're trying to think deep about a lot of these moments, but this is not what cost you the game. So, okay, I play a6, e3, that's fine. Bishop g4, yeah, it pins the knight, but again, it's not a big deal. You're totally fine here. There's no win of material I have here. Bishop b3 is fine, castle's good, you're playing fine. Here, I disagree with letting me take on f4. And I think I mentioned this in the game, that queen e2 was the moment where things were going wrong for you, because you allowed me to take here and kind of cause all this havoc around your king. So I'm just a little surprised that you spent so much time criticizing a bunch of very standard, normal opening moves, but you didn't make a comment here for queen e2, the move that actually probably cost you the game. Because now I can take on f4, remove your defender of the d4 pawn, now I take on d4, and now I'm going to triple your pawns. This moment is probably what cost you the game, nothing about anything that happened before. And again, it comes down to calculation, right? Not really opening knowledge. I guess the question is, when you considered playing queen e2, did you do what you have to do every turn and consider every possible check, capture, or threat from black? Did you consider bishop takes f4? Did you try to evaluate it? And what was your conclusion? But okay, going forward with the game after this moment where the pawns were tripled, yeah, you give no comment when I played d4 either. I think this was the nail in the coffin because it wins a piece, right? It's just a simple one-move fork, right? Probably, well, it's very hard to suggest moves here for white because you don't want to really lose this rook either, but it's probably better to just move the knight away and let me take here if I want to than it is to let me fork your queen and knight. But yeah, certainly this can't really be defended. Now there's this pin on the d-file, and here, yeah, you didn't defend your bishop. You could have at least tried to defend this bishop with like rook d1 or something, but you just gave me the bishop. And then got mated like that. Alright, so I think the advice I have for you is I want you to kind of narrow your focus a little bit. I've given this advice to a couple others and it's helped out. I wouldn't spend too much time worrying about, like what you were saying here in the opening, about strengthened center contention. That stuff's important, of course. You played the opening just fine. Again, you can check out these openings if you want more background. You can check out these videos I recommended if you want more background on that. But what's going to be the biggest kind of return on investment for your time right now at this phase of your chess career is tactics and calculation, right? You lost this game because you didn't properly evaluate one of your opponent's checks, captures, or threats, right? This bishop takes f4 moment earlier on. And then, of course, later on, you know, not trying to defend the bishop on d3. I think you missed the d4 fork as well. These are the moments that win and lose games, not, you know, an isolated pawn that wasn't even isolated that you incur on move 4 or 5. That's not what's going to decide games at this level, or really ever. I mean, it's certainly good to be aware of that stuff, and as long as, material's equal, you can certainly base plans around some of those positional things. But very, very important, before you ever make any move, always ask, okay, this is the move I intend to play. Now, what are all the possible checks, captures, or threats my opponent could play in response to this move? And do I have an adequate response to every one? Really focus on doing that every single turn of every game. I know it's tedious, it's going to be hard at first, but build up that kind of muscle memory, that habit of doing that every turn until it starts to become kind of automatic. And that's when you're really going to start to see giant gains in your rating. All right, and last but not least, we have a game here from Mike C. So let's take a look. So you're playing e4. Okay, they're playing the Owen defense. Okay, like it. Yeah, some players here like to play bishop d3, just to kind of keep black guessing about where this knight's going to go, so they can't just pin it or something. Because often black's just going to pin that knight and try to increase the pressure to e4. That's kind of the whole idea. And there are some fun, sharp lines you have to know here, too. Like there's this move f5, where it's like takes, queen h5, g6, takes. There's actually a funny mate here, I believe. If black plays knight f6, you can actually sack the queen with takes. Not g7, funnily enough. This looks strong, but this is even stronger with with bishop g6 checkmate. Just be aware of some of these possibilities, but certainly knight c3 is fine too. So let's see. That's really goofy. Why is black playing bishop b7 and then c6? That doesn't make any sense. Okay, wow. Okay. Yeah, this looks good. I mean, if black wants to play like this, then yeah, you just develop as fast as possible when you look to eventually play like f5 or e5 or even d5, and try to blow the center open. So let's see how it goes. g6, okay, e5. Only thing with e5 is I feel like now black can just play d5 and keep everything closed. I'm tempted here just to play f5. The thing is here there's more pawn tension, right? So it's much harder for black to keep all the lines closed. That's just my thought, at least. Like here, if they try to play, like how do they even keep the lines closed? Play e5? Here I'm already considering, can we even like take and play knight g5? I'm not sure if it works yet, or I mean, you'd have to calculate it, but there's already, dangerous looking lines that black would have to watch out for that you would have to calculate. So e5 seems like a big decision. It's kind of a big decision which one of these pawns to push. I don't think you gave any comment here with e5. Let me see. You had some ideas of using the f file for attacking early. I don't think e5 really helps your aim of attacking on the f file, because now it's much harder to play f5. To me, just based on my own, pattern recognition here, I feel like f5 is the most promising pawn break, especially after g6. It's just going to be very hard for black to keep all the lines closed. But let's see. e5. Wow, and they don't even play d5. Yeah, what is black doing? I feel like black should play d5 here and keep the lines closed, but okay. a4, I feel like black has just abandoned their development so much. I'm tempted just to take on d6 and start trying to open the center somehow. I guess the question is how, though. I guess, does this really help us, is the question. f5 might even work as a pawn sacrifice in some cases here. I'm just trying to think about how to how to make this work. Maybe it doesn't here. It's tempting. It's really tempting, but I don't see a clean way to make this work. There's no way any of this works yet, is there? Or is there? Possibly. Bishop g5 here? Followed by, like, rook e1 or something? I don't know. I'm just showing you how I'm going to be calculating. I'd be calculating all these options every turn, really trying to punish black for not developing. But okay, let's see. a4. Yeah, like, I'm just not worried about, like, queenside expansion. Black's just breaking all the rules and not developing, so I'd really be focusing all my calculation on trying to punish them. I'm not worried about like their space on the queenside. So let's see. Now they play c5? I don't get it. So black's plan is to not develop anything and then try to blow the center open? I feel like they're doing your job for you, because that should be what you're trying to do. Okay, yeah, knight b5 definitely looks strong. Okay. Takes. Now they open the f file for you. I'm not sure about knight d6, so I feel like that's more than black deserves to be able to trade off for this knight. What about knight g5 right away? Just attacking f7. I guess they can defend it with knight h6, right? Or they might even have knight takes e5 here. That's kind of annoying. I just really want to punish them for playing this way. It's just I'm trying to find the best way to do it. Also, I think bishop g5 here could be strong. Because now what do they do? They can't, or sorry, not right here. What about bishop g5 as an in-between move? Because how do they block this? They can't really block it because of knight d6. They can't play bishop e7 or knight e7. So I guess they'd have to play, what, like queen b8? Maybe? And it feels like those are useful moves to insert, right? We develop a piece and force the queen away. I guess I'm just worried about the e5 pawn, but I don't know, should I be? I mean, even if they win the e5 pawn, their king is still seeming very vulnerable. But okay, let's actually see how the game turns out before I criticize this too much. So knight d6, takes, e5, rook e1. Can we not be more direct? Does knight takes e5 work in any case? Maybe it doesn't, because they can defend with f6 in some lines. I'm just trying to calculate some options like this. Can they really just play f6 and hold everything together? Maybe they can. So okay, in light of that, you just play rook e1 first. Makes sense. f6, good. Taking on d4. This still has to be very good for us. Okay. Okay, I like it. Oh yeah, don't we just win? I mean, we have knight c7 coming, right? Let's see. Okay. I'm trying to see your comment here. Okay, so you play knight c7 next turn anyways. Oh, good. That's even better. Yeah. So it's just a win, right? Good. Yeah, good win. I mean, yeah, black just didn't develop, so, I mean, they had to pay for it sooner or later. I thought you would send the game because something went wrong at some point and you couldn't punish them, but yeah, I mean, you eventually found a nice little tactic here to finish the job and won the game. All right, that wraps up this Master Mentorship video. Again, please keep the games coming for the next one. If you have any comments, questions, either about your game or someone else's, just post them in the Facebook group, and I will see you in the next video.